Hi, thank you for joining me. I'm Dr. Philip McMillan, and today I'm talking about whistleblowing, New Zealand, COVID vaccine data, a leak, someone who was put in jail and bailed, and this is the update on what was going on. I just spoke about this a couple of days ago, and the question is, why am I going back to this data leak? And the reason is because it is so important. And so, to give you some context from a personal point of view, is that whistleblowing is not actually that easy. And anyone who has done it would recognize that if you're going to whistleblow, you have to know that there is a cost. And so, this case as to what this individual did in New Zealand, and if you're not up to date with it, what he did is he took vaccination data from the Ministry of Health. I think he tried to anonymize it, but they weren't happy with the level of anonymization. So they thought that patient details could be in it, and he published it publicly. And this caused a huge issue in the context of data protection and the implications for their management of data and patient confidentiality. So it comes with significant implications, which is why I am really thinking carefully about it and trying to understand what is it and why did he do what he did. So let's just get down to a few basic things. And I'm going to come back now to the points about this vaccination data. Now, for me, I talk about these things and don't think that it is simple. It's not easy. It's something that I do because I think I have to. And the reason I have to do this is because, sadly, not sadly, I've been given an understanding around COVID 19 through research around autoimmunity. What am I supposed to do? Just sit by and not raise the awareness that this is a problem? We need to understand it. We need to understand the implications of it. How does it work in the in the situation of overstimulating the immune system, where the virus also triggers the immune system? This is complex stuff, and I felt that I had to be responsible to speak about it, and so this is why I'm doing it. It comes with a cost. I've been censored many times because of it. I can't even get on LinkedIn because I speak about these things and they don't like it. What do? I have to continue raising awareness because this is what the research suggests. And everything I've predicted is happening. And we have some serious problems in front of us. But this can only be addressed when we look comprehensively at the data. The reason why New Zealand is so important, also Australia, but probably New Zealand even more than Australia, is that it is one of the few places in the world where vaccination was done prior to population exposure of COVID 19. So, in most other countries, you can't tell which is causing the problem because both of them can cause immune related conditions. So, in the context of New Zealand, this is really, really valuable information. So, what would cause someone to actually do this whistleblowing? Technically, this whistleblowing. So, it got me thinking about a few things. So, I'll start with when I personally felt as though I was whistleblowing, and this was in 2022, in January 2022. I looked at the Euromomo data. This is covering all of Europe. I looked at the age group 15 to 44, and I could see here, this is the age 15 to 44. This here was 2019 in gray. This here was 2020 in blue. And in light blue, this was 2021. And this was excess deaths in that age group. And so at that point, I thought this is absolutely serious. It was a 9 times increase over that period of time. And I said, this cannot be ignored. I then raised awareness. I tried to send emails to whoever I thought would be able to address this. no response. But you had to do it because the data was suggestive that there could be a problem. Please, I said, in the context of your low risk groups, do not do anything until you have clarified what this flag could be. You need to clarify why this was happening in this age group. Was this just around infection when they were low risk? Was it because we brought in vaccination? So I thought this was really important to address. It's kind of like a whistleblowing situation. And so that was what really got me to think carefully about what happened in New Zealand. So, because of my curiosity, I then looked in a little bit more detail, and I found this bit, and this is about the person. And just before I go into it, you have to understand that this person is not just random in the context of the Ministry of Health in New Zealand. He's been working with them for 5 years, looking at their databases and administration and so on. So he's not a random person in their system. Additionally, he works in the banking sector. So this kind of data leak, for him to do it, it will absolutely destroy his career. So he had to have a really good reason for doing it. So when I looked at a bit of information about what he said about himself, something stood out to me. And it was this bit here. I also care about fairness, integrity, and truth telling in life, and especially in the media. I find MSM doesn't always do that, mainstream media. That stands out. This is someone who actually really believes in the truth and really believes that you should stand up for it. And the sad part is that that is pretty rare these days. It's not common. And so this is why it stood out in my mind as to the importance of it. So again, because of curiosity, I went to the Ministry of Health New Zealand to see what was their health integrity line or whistleblowing. How is it that they approach that? So you have here, it's free, it's anonymous, 24/7 phone line. You can report fraud or any other activities you're concerned about within the health sector. And so they have a clear whistleblowing policy, and it includes things that they think are dishonest, inappropriate use of public money, corrupt practices, harassment, theft, conflicts of interest, drug alcohol abuse, any other matter that does not seem right. And so this would fall into this category. And so he could have called this line doing the right thing. And he said you could have, if you're an employee and are calling about serious wrongdoing or in your workplace, we'll let you know that they have Protected Disclosures Act 2000, known as the Whistleblowers Act. So there was, it seems, a mechanism where this could have been done. My question is, why didn't he use it? Or, more importantly, did he use it and it went nowhere? Did he use it and raise awareness of the data that he was seeing that was so concerning to him that he was willing to sacrifice his career to flag it, and nobody did anything? Because one thing is for certain is that if what he is saying is occurring or did occur, there are a number of ways you can look at it. One, the data was not assessed. So, meaning that in New Zealand, they did the vaccination, they just didn't bother to look at any correlation between vaccination and death. That makes no sense because the information was there. So, maybe they didn't analyze it, but I think that would be negligent. Did they analyze it? If they did analyze it, is it that they didn't see a relevant correlation? That's possible. They just didn't quite understand what they were seeing. Or did they see it? Did they understand it? Did they share it within their organization and still determine that the information was not important enough for the world to know? Because, as I said, this data was extremely unique. It would have had an impact on the way that the whole world would perceive what we were doing and the risks associated with it. Very critical. So, as I said before, if what he did in doing the leak, and this is where it now comes to conscience, where a good example would be someone in the banking sector. They see illegal activities, say to do with terrorism and money laundering. They raise the flag in the bank. The bank doesn't do anything about it for whatever reason. Does that person then, because of conscience, have a responsibility to bring that to the public arena? That would come with a tremendous cost because they would definitely lose their job in the bank. And so this is where you have policies and procedures, but what happens if they are still unable to bring a resolution to what could be a very serious situation? In this case, the reason I'm speaking about it again is largely because if this data is pulled aside and hidden, and the world has no opportunity to independently analyze it and review it, that's a cost to the whole world. That's a really important point. And so, my aim today, by speaking about it again, is to make sure that if anybody who hears this knows anyone in New Zealand, make sure that they are aware that this is occurring. Because my perspective on this is irrelevant. If I am not in New Zealand and are unable to apply pressure to the government and the health service and to get freedom of information, it is completely irrelevant. The only people who can do this are Kiwis. So the people in New Zealand have to demand that this is properly reviewed. They have to do it on behalf of the rest of the world. And if they don't, it's quite possible that we may never see this data again. It's really concerning. So, if you want to see what was said and some of the links that were out there, you can please use the link on my Substack, and you'll be able to see some of the stuff that I have in there. I've collated a few things, articles, and so on that probably can't be shared here. So, if you are interested in that, please take a look at it. And as I said, my simple question to anyone is, please raise awareness in New Zealand because this information probably may not be being shared to the public. Make sure they are aware because only Kiwis can make a difference in this case by applying pressure to their government. Have a good evening, and we'll continue to keep you updated in the near future.